All right, I'm pleased to be joined by my next guest who picked up the vacant CFFC welterweight title. And of course, it is Bassil Hafez on the show. Bassil, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I appreciate you having me, Ryan.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And wow, what a performance. What a win. And a signature win at that. You gave your opponent, Christian, the first L of his career. He was 8-0. Tell me, what was the game plan going in this one?
The game plan was the same as every fight. I trained to be able to handle myself on the feet, to be against the cage, or whether it's a takedown and getting on the ground. So, I knew going in, seeing his previous fights, his style. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been a black belt for 2 years now. I've been training for about 10 years, a little over 10 years total. So I felt super confident on the ground. He kind of gave me a couple things in the beginning right away that I was looking for if I wanted to get to the ground, and I reacted to it, got it down, and he was tough, man. He was definitely not he was not tapping until it broke. So I think going in, I kind of didn't expect that, and so I didn't break his shit. But he was tough. He was fighting on the submissions, and I switched to another submission, switched from a kimura to an armbar. He wasn't tapping on either. He did a very good escape on both of them. But I'm black belt. Been training this for a long time, so he escapes one, I'm going to attack for the next. All that shows me is that I can get the submission on. It gives me more confidence. So I felt good in there. I got the finish with by triangle. He came back into my guard and wouldn't let me stand up, and so I was able to get the finish off my back. I'm confident, off my back or on if he's on his back. So it was a good fight, and I'm happy that I got the finish in the first round.
You're 6-2-1 now. You were 5-2-1, obviously, going into this fight. Did you feel any added pressure? Because this clearly had to have been the biggest fight of your career for a belt, a very prestigious regional belt at that. And your opponent was 8-0, and he was on the cusp of, maybe getting into contender series, which I know this is something that you want. Did you feel any added pressure to really go in there and get this signature win?
No, I mean the only pressure for me was more or less the situation, being the main event and winning the title. Even not even main event, just winning that belt was such a huge deal for me because I've been alluded to it so many times, and guys in Philadelphia that I know have won the belt and moved on to the UFC, and guys that I fought have fought for the belt and won it and gone to the UFC. So to me, it was this with the weight that the belt carried, with being able to get up to that pedestal and keep myself there. So I'm happy that I got the finish. And no pressure, man, no pressure. I mean, my record is actually supposed to be 6-1-1. I had a unofficial, ununified fight that I had in Aruba. That I don't even that I beat the crap out of this guy, and some reason it was split decision the other way. It was a really crooked fight. But so I don't even, that's not supposed to be on my record, even if it was a win or loss, because it was unsanctioned and it didn't follow the unified rules. But I know that Tapology and them show it. So I mean, 6-1-1, 6-2, 6-2-1. I feel very confident still as a fighter. And my losses that I've had, one, I didn't feel like I lost at all. I didn't really take any damage, but lost to DJ Jackson. I felt like I just didn't get active in that fight, and that's the reason why I lost it. I didn't leave the fight with any damage whatsoever. And then I lost to Joe Lowry as an amateur, which I didn't really absorb any damage that fight either. Lost off points and takedowns and things like that. So I feel confident, man. I'm growing as a fighter. I don't feel like I've been beaten. I don't feel like anyone's really put it on me. I fought tough guys, and they have been, experienced guys as well, being that, but I still feel confident and I'm excited for the next fight and to continue growing. I still haven't showed off a lot of what I'm able to do on the feet. I showed off in, one of my last fights in February, but other than that, man, I'm excited to get back out there and put another show on for the fans whenever that is.
How different or weird was it to compete with all the changes with COVID that's presented for all the promotions? Obviously, you're on UFC Fight Pass and all that, so you got a big audience and there's a few people there, but not like it normally would be. Did that affect you at all, or were you just laser focused once you step inside the cage?
No, yeah, I mean, it didn't. It honestly didn't affect me. I'm fine with them being with there being not being fans. Like having fans there is cool. Not having fans, I mean, I'm there to do one thing. I'm there to go into that cage, and once that cage door locks, do what I can to make sure I get a finish and make sure that I put on a show. So to me, I'm indifferent. I've had a bunch of fights. I've had amateur fights as amateur, fights as a pro now. I'm pretty much at that point where I'm completely in the zone when I step in that cage. I'm aware of the guy breathing outside the cage. I'm aware of the one fan across the cage outside who's waving at me. I'm I'm aware while I'm in there. So to me, not having fans doesn't. I don't need the hype. I don't need people screaming to hype myself up. You know, I'm going into a fight. I've been training my ass off. I know that I got to just go in there and do what I do best. And so, fans or no fans, man, I still try to put on a show and still feel good going in there. Still feel the same hype level.
I know where I'm from, everything shuts down at 9 p.m., which is just mind-boggling to think about. But did you get a chance to celebrate it all afterwards? I mean, you just won this belt. Did you do anything like fun, or did you just have to like go back to the hotel or go home and just kind of chill and do something low key?
Well, so I'm in Philadelphia, and the fight happened in Philadelphia, so thankfully no hotel business, just going back to my house. But dude, honestly, I'm not a big nightclub guy. I'm not a big, after party guy. I've never really been a fan of them, and I've had managers and people try to set them up afterwards. After the fight, I like literally just going, hanging out with a couple friends, eating some good food, and just silence. Just like let me just think about what just happened. Let me watch what I did and make sure I did it right, and then I want to improve on that next time, But like, no, I didn't go out, and I went to my barbershop afterwards, Blade and Badger Barbershop here in Philadelphia. Got some banging barbecue and just ate and sit back and relax. Didn't have to do much. Well, that's a good post-fight celebration for me.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So is barbecue food the go-to for you? Is that the cheat meal when you get a chance to do that?
Oh man, I like food too much. I'm fighting in 170 and I cut weight every time, and I always deprive myself. But I like all kinds of food, man. I like Asian food. I like Korean barbecue, sushi. I love good barbecue, brisket, good beef ribs. I don't eat pork, but pretty much I like a lot of food. But barbecue and Asian cuisine are two of my favorites. A good top off would have been maybe some sushi with that, but I got it in after regardless.
Gotcha. So where's the best place to get a cheesesteak in Philly? I've only been once, and I believe I went to Gino's. This was quite a few years ago.
Man, you went to Gino's. That's like the most commercial spot. That's like I went to Cali one time to visit a friend, and he didn't tell us about any good spots that were open late. We ended up going to Taco Bell, and it was like disgusting. Dude, why am I eating? I'm in Cali. I'm eating Taco Bell.
Right.
No, Gino's is good for like if you just want to try what a cheesesteak is, but in comparison to what the best spots, Angelo's Pizzeria is really good. They're ranked on Barstool, ranked them, so they're pretty good. Jimmy G's is one of my favorites. I like the roll. To me, it's got to be a good equal ratio of good roll, good meat, flavor, and freshness. It's got to be all of them. So like good cheesesteak is a good soft roll. It's not soggy. The meat can't be chewy. Got to be tender. Got to have good flavor to it. Jimmy G's, Angelo's Pizzeria, Steve Prince's Steaks is pretty good. People love the El Sandro's. I'm not a huge fan of the El Sandro's. Personally, I think it's overrated. But next time you're in Philly, you gotta let me know. I'll guide you to the right spots. I'll give you a list.
Okay. That sounds good, man. I'll definitely have to hit you up because I like my food as well. Now, weight cut. Like, what is that like for you to make it down to 170? Like, what's the biggest you get outside of camp?
Outside of camp, I get kind of big. I'm between 190 and 200, I would say. So like, cutting weight for me, I usually have to be very, very strict. I can't like eat like I used to when I was younger and not have to worry about gaining weight. So, I get in the cage pretty shredded because I'm literally eating, boiled, flavorless, bland. I'm eating very lean, very to the point, meals the whole fight camp. So it takes a little bit for me to get down. It takes discipline, but not a problem. I'll have time later on in life to eat, So right now it's kind of just making sure I'm on top of everything I'm eating. I work with Renaissance Periodization, RP, for my diet, Will Starks, who's actually a fighter as well, fought LFA recently. He handles all my diet stuff, helps me get the weight cut down, and I think getting better and better and smoother at the weight cut the more I go.
That's great to hear. And I do know that you had a grappling match a few months back. But outside of that, man, you haven't been really that active this year as far as in-cage competition goes. What has 2020 been like for you as far as COVID and getting your workouts in and everything you need to do? Just run me through that.
I was able to thankfully go to a friend's gym. I have a couple guys that have gyms out here, Algie MMA, 302, BJJ, and then a friend of mine, Hall of Fame, PT, Eddie Hall. A couple of them were able to stay open at certain points. I know everything had to shut down, so we did off the grid training, but I was able to still get my training in throughout the year. I was trying to fight, honestly. I wanted to fight. I think it was a lot tougher to get fights at the time. My management wasn't able to really find much other than until the CFFC event came. But I fought in February, and before that, I've talked about it briefly. I had a couple of things that happened in 2019 that weren't so good. I had a car accident and almost died in, flipped the truck. into oncoming traffic and was in the hospital in ICU with internal bleeding and spinal injury. Coming out of that, I was trying too hard to prepare too soon to fight right away. Because I was supposed to do EBI before that car accident, and then tore my knee. Ended up tearing my knee 3 times, 3 knee surgeries after the car accident. So getting my feet wet at the end of 2019 was the goal. I got my feet wet in February fighting for Art of War. It was the main event here in South Philly, and my goal was to fight for a title for them next. The whole pandemic happened. I stayed ready. I stayed training. Guys around me got calls, which, it's the way cookie crumbles. I'm happy for them. But, I was waiting for my time. CFFC opportunity came, and I know I wasn't active a lot previous to my injuries. And with that going on, I was out but I had a good showing, show my striking game and show what I'm able to do on the feet, winning by unanimous decision. And then the whole COVID happened. I stayed busy. I stayed training. And then finally that CFFC title opportunity came, and I jumped at it. Guys 8-0, I don't care. I know I know the skill level that I bring to the table. I know what I can do. I know that I'm still even growing. I'm still evolving. So, my goal is to be as dangerous as I am on the feet, as I am on the ground. I want to be able to go handle anywhere. So my opponent was 8-0, but I didn't feel like he fought guys at my level and the guys that I fought. So I showed that with the first round finish on fight night, and I'm going to continue to grow, man. Continue to keep on trying to put on a show for the fans and make people excited to want to watch me.
Yeah, and people are clearly excited to watch you step back into the cage here, and hopefully it is again very soon. One of the things I like about fighting is you can relate it to anything in life. We all have to fight for things that we want, regardless of what it is. And one of the things I was really curious to get your take on is you've been through a lot in your life. You talk about, the injury, the car accident, and then, a few years back, I think it was closer to 10 years ago now, you lost both of your parents to cancer. I lost my dad to cancer. I know how awful that is to push through when you lose someone that you love so much. How were you able to get through that and stay positive and keep doing the right things? Because a lot of people aren't quite as lucky. They go down a bad path and they don't normally make the right decisions. Can you just tell me how you got through that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. It was tough. It definitely was tough. And look, as fighters, something that we have in common, I feel like we all kind of go through different things that built that toughness inside of us to be able to fight. I mean, athletes in general usually have a reason, something that drives them to get up every day, things they've experienced. So even in your field, you have passion and things happen, and we lose people and we have things that happen. We can't use that as a reason to be a crutch. You can't use it as a reason to not do anything and not be successful. So me losing my parents early on actually was what drove me. I lost my mom is what drove me to get into fighting. I'm thankful my dad, before he passed away and before he got real bad on life support and hospice care, that he was able to see me fight at least one time. I remember one time he was, towards the last bit of him when I was still amateur, he was, his last few days, he was on life support. And I was actually not planning on fighting, but, I knew part of my mentality is don't have this, don't let it be an excuse. Let it be a reason for me to go out there and show all the hard work I've been doing and make him proud, do it in his honor. And so I got, I think the time he was on life support before he passed and I had that fight, I ended the fight in like 16 or 20 seconds, 19 seconds or something like that. It was a quick fight. I got a real quick finish because I was, a little bit explosive that day and fired up. But, losing my mom at a young age, it forced me into doing some bad things. I got in street fights. I got arrested. And, I've winded down that path. It wasn't like it happened and I was already on the straight and narrow. I was, barely passing high school, graduated by the skin of my teeth. And she was real sick, passed away that summer after I graduated. I got in fights. I got arrested. Had to, basically deal with it as an adult. And then I kind of realized at that point, I need to stop acting out and doing stupid things and just saying F it, That's a lot of times people get that F it mentality because it's like, only we're in our own head and we're only the ones, we feel like we're the only ones experiencing it. And it's kind of like, F what this guy says or screw what that guy says or screw what these people say. They don't know what I'm going through. They don't. But at the end of the day, like, you got to realize, man, like, everyone has bad things and different levels of it. Some people that have it a lot worse than me, they lost both their parents and they grew up in a drug house, like, people have things a lot worse. You can't use these things as crutches to be bad or to do bad things or to make bad decisions. You got to still treat it like their memory is still there and you're still living based off them. You got to still do things positively because that person would want you to be successful. That person would want you to be happy. So I used my parents as motivation that helped me get into martial arts and realize that I have a future in this field. Help me understand like the value of family. So like I help my friends out, give advice and this and that when I see them fighting with their parents. It taught me a lot of perspective, man. I'm grateful that I have my coaches, Ricardo Miglioris, my coach Andy Russell. They've mentored me and helped me become the man that I am today, because I was a completely different person when I lost my parents, because I lost them at 18. I lost my mom at 18 and my father at 21 when I was still kind of growing. So, I'm a long ways from where I was then. And I get that people are in very low times when things like that happen to them. But I'm grateful and I'm happy that I, put my foot to the grindstone and I continue to work and improve and see the light at the end of the tunnel and understand it's there to I can be successful. And I can instead of being upset about this and being negative, I can be proud of how they raised me and the man they made me, they helped me try and become. And now I'm going to continue ascending on that path and be successful, and no matter what it is I do, I don't have to be a doctor. I don't have to be a lawyer. I don't have to, I got to do something that's going to give me passion and meaning every day to wake up. And I love fighting, man. I'm going to be fighting and doing jiu-jitsu until my career, even past my career, until the day that I can't walk anymore, because this has really helped me grow into the person that I am now with the connections and the things that has brought me already. So, man, it's all a product of hard work, Same thing. You experience a loss when you probably use that to help propel you forward, and instead of using it to hold you back.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I did. And I appreciate you diving in and talking about that. I'm sure there's somebody out there that will be watching this that can take, something from that and help them moving forward. So thank you for talking about that. I did want to ask you, outside of MMA, do you have any other hobbies? I mean, I'm a sports junkie, NBA, NFL, everything I love. Like, do you get into anything else that you can compare a little bit to your love for MMA?
It's tough, man. I try and watch other sports. I'm actually a huge football fan. That's like my little secret thing. I love football. I grew up playing football. I was always a fan as a kid, and I play fantasy football now. So that's my one thing. Like basketball, I watch it with my friends. I have friends that play at high levels, and they're good. People I grew up with that a friend of mine, she grew up with, she's in the WNBA, and I have a friend whose aspirations is to be in the NBA. So I follow a little bit of basketball because of that, but other than that, it's mainly football and MMA. Okay. I'm not a big golf it's hard for me to follow a lot of other sports. Not that they're not good.
Yeah.
Football and MMA are my two.
Now, as far as, what is next for you, obviously you hold the CFFC belt now. I imagine you're going to be defending it again soon. It's really interesting because I've interviewed Bobby Lee a few times, and he's now in Bellator, former title holder, and also Jeremiah Wells, who you fought to a draw, who I think signed with the UFC, but I think he was cut, if I'm not mistaken, because they weren't able to find him a fight. I don't know. Maybe really? I'm wrong. But is that a fight? Because if he's not fighting for the UFC anytime soon, that would make the most sense, right, for you to fight him?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've already said from the day that fight ended, and he said it too, we want to fight again. We want to make that. We want to change that draw to a win. I want to change that draw to a win. So does he. He's a tough guy, and he's continued improving the same way that I have after my fight. He didn't have any injury slip-ups like I had, and where he was continuing on that progression and got signed. I don't know that he got released. I thought he got signed and he's still with the UFC. I could be wrong, but it's definitely a fight I want back. Whether it happens on the local scene or in the UFC, be cool, man, because we're both tough fighters, and last time we fought to a draw for a reason. So, I definitely I feel like I've improved in a lot of the areas that I had mistakes at that fight. So I would love it back. He's a tough dude. If we don't end up fighting, we don't end up fighting. If we do, hell yeah, I'm down. My goal is to get to the UFC, and my goal is to work towards the championship at that company. So, if one comes knocking, or the right company comes knocking with the right offer, then I'm most likely going to take it. But as of now, I'm just kind of training, keep myself ready, keeping my weight down so that, whatever call happens, UFC, CFFC, I'll be ready to go, ready to fight, ready to defend that belt or prove myself in the next level.
I know Dana White cut 70-something fighters just fairly recently. I thought I saw Jeremiah's name on that list. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to do a double check on that.
I didn't know there was a list.
Yeah.
You're ahead of me.
Yeah, there's a list, and I thought he was on it. But okay, so either way, if that fight doesn't come to fruition, is there someone else that you think would make the most sense for the CFFC title?
I mean, dude, there's so many guys that are deserving of that title shot on the local scene. there's a couple guys. One guy just had a knockout over another guy in the welterweight division. I think he's undefeated. He's a Canadian guy as well.
Johan Linnaeus.
Yeah, Johan. I mean, he's obviously deserving of it. The guy's 5-0 for a reason, and apparently he's a black belt too. So that'd be a very fun match. I would love that. But these guys, like, they're on the doorstep. Same way. One guy that I was actually supposed to fight, but then he pulled out for I don't know what reason. He had an injury or something came up, and then he ended up just fighting recently. Was the Solomon Renfro guy we were supposed to fight? He was on his way up. He was undefeated, but then he just had a loss. So I don't know. That probably obviously knocks you out of the contention for a minute. But yeah, I mean, there's so many guys in the local scene that I feel are deserving of the title shot. That the same way that I was deserving of it. It's the same way we're deserving of the next level. So I would fight any of those guys, man. Honestly, I don't. My goal is to get to the UFC. So I want to fight those guys. I want to fight guys in the UFC. I've competed against guys in jiu-jitsu tournaments that are in the UFC now that I want to now fight because I beat them in a jiu-jitsu tournament. So it's like, there's a lot of names. When I get to that point where I get the contract, then I can start calling out guys and saying I want this fight and that fight. But right now, it's kind of whoever the next young buck is that's ready to try and take my belt.
Let me tell you what I think the perfect 2021 would be like for you, and you can let me know what you think. So next fight, you defend the CFFC belt, you win. Then you fight a contender series next. You get a win there, and then you make your UFC debut towards the latter part of 2021. Do you like that?
That's taking a little time, but I'm fine with that.
Fine with that? Okay.
I would love my next fight to be in the UFC, but if the next one is the CFFC title defense, I do that title defense, I win dominant fashion, maybe I get a contract. Well, you never know. I know it's tough right now to get a contract without the contender series. So, look, whatever opportunity presents itself, I'll be ready. And I just know that I'm hungry for more. So, whatever happens next, title defense and then contender series is fine by me as well.
Very good. Well, again, congratulations on winning the belt. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today. Before I do let you go, I want to give you the floor. If there's anyone you want to thank, any sponsors you have, any social media, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, people can follow me on Instagram at Bassil _ Badre. Bassil Bassil, not Basil. I get that a lot. But other than that, I mean, I'm not really on Facebook, so Instagram's the main way to go. I don't have Twitter, so I'm not tweeting at people. But yeah, follow me on Instagram. Thank you to Balance Studios. Thank you to Algio MMA. Thank you to Hall of Fame Personal Training, Eddie Hall, for my wrestling and my strength conditioning. Thank you to 302. Thank you to all my manager. Thank you to Iridium Sports for getting me this interview and being an awesome management group.